Okay, editing Carrie coming in for a very quick intro here. If you did not watch Thursday's video, this is the second half of that video where we're really more coming directly in precision of Michael's, the acquisition, what I am afraid is going to happen, what I think we'll see, and what I would do if I were in charge or could, make recommendations. What recommendation would I make to the company to see this as a success or to create a success out of this acquisition, not to mention the previous two acquisitions that Michaels has already made. So I hope you enjoy. As always, I look forward to seeing you real soon. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let the community know what you think. All I ask is, once again, that we're respectful to each other and to each other's opinions. Love you guys. Moving on to the Michael's problem and Michael's purchasing Joann's, and where I think that's going to lead everybody to frustration. So I'm not sure if y'all have tried to shop on the Michael's website recently, but it's atrocious. It's a horrible place to shop. It's no longer Michaels.com. It's the Michael's Marketplace. So you have a bunch of third-party vendors selling on there, and you can't separate out the merchandise really as to what's Michael's and what's these third-party vendors. And Michael's is also online really pushing their bulk to buy purchase thing, which is great, but like you're getting, say, like 10 or 15% off, whereas like your coupon is going to get you like 25, 30% off an order sometimes. And it's not clean. It's not an easy interface to use. And to be honest, one of the worst experiences I have in trying to shop on the Michael's website is if I go in and say, I want all your yarn, and I search for most recent, new arrivals, so I can find something that, I can buy and purchase to review or something. The website can't be found. I get errors constantly. It cannot seem to process a large input like that because they have so many third-party vendors that are selling yarn now. And I mean, some of these are really good yarns. Like, I'm excited to see some of these yarns easily available, but because there's so much third-party traffic, when you go to organize something like that, you can't like separate out the third-party stuff, and their website kind of breaks when you try to sort that much information, and it makes it to where you can't shop. And even if, say, you want to go to the second, it gets loaded for the first page. By the time you go to page over for the second page, once again, it errors out, and it takes you all the way back to the beginning of the process where you have just all the yarns willy-nilly, no order or anything else. And you have to type in all your filter parameters and hope that it reloads. And so their online shopping is just absolutely horrible. If they could take the Joann's interface and plug all their stuff into it, that would be phenomenal. But they're not going to do that. I know they're not going to do that. With this acquisition, they say they want to expand their product lines and what they're offering. But truthfully, where in your Michael's store are you going to put fabric, brother sewing machines, Singer sewing machines? Because most of your stores are filled up. I know, like right now, all the Cricut crafting and sublimation and stuff is kind of like petering out. The stores aren't carrying as much of that stuff in bulk and huge displays. I mean, like a couple of years ago, the Michael's that I shopped at regularly in Charlotte, I mean, 25% of that store was allocated to sublimation crafting kind of stuff. Mug blanks, like not Stanley's, but like insulated cups and thermoses and things like that. The sweatshirts and t-shirts that they were carrying, because you have to carry, if you're going to carry any of that stuff in store, you have to carry a ton of stock. And I don't think people realize how much stock, when you carry garments blanks like that, how much stock that really is. And, t-shirts and tank tops and sweatshirts and stuff. But when you have to have like two of every size and every color, from a T1 size, t-shirt, sweatshirt to an adult's 3XL, that is so much real estate you're giving up. And then, you had the mug blanks, cup blanks, tumbler blanks. You had all the supplies for the sublimation ink, sublimation printers, heat presses, the machines for doing die cuts and everything else. I mean, it was ridiculous real estate Michael had given up Michaels had given up to these crafts. But even with those kind of pulling back, and they're not allocating so much of the real estate of the store for those things, it's still not enough to bring in even, 25% of what Joann's carried. And I mean, you could definitely, for us, the yarn crafter, you could easily see where they could expand, an extra aisle full of just all the big twist yarn, because as their purchase, did purchase all of their IP and private label brands, Big Twist is part of that. So they could easily bring in Big Twist and dedicate, a 2-section aisle full of Big Twist yarn, but you're not going to be able to bring in all that sewing stuff, which is what they say they want to focus on. But when you go on their website, they still have limited offerings for fabric and thread. Their offerings, even with having purchased AC Moore and Hancock fabrics over the years, they still haven't pulled in a lot of those lines. And even if they do want to really expand those things, are they going to sign contracts with companies like Sulky and places like that do specialty threads? And where are they going to, are they going to really focus on putting those in store, or are those going to be online? And how do you, once again, navigate that relationship with your customers to get those items into your customers' hands? They keep saying on all of the media releases and stuff that they've done with every acquisition is that they want to increase their in-store and online variety, but there's nowhere to put these things in store. So, I mean, are you going to start like reducing your floral departments and maybe, allocate, what had been all the sublimation crafting and vinyl crafting stuff and half of your floral department? Are you going to like condense all of that into now a sewing department? Because I mean, like my store here in Columbia, they do occasionally have like fat quarters charm packs, jelly rolls, the 1 yard cuts, things like that. But their thread selection is kind of, just barely one up from your primary collection. And it's mostly just white and black yarn or thread. And I just don't see where like a store like that doesn't have a huge floral selection, it has a larger seasonal selection. I just physically don't see where you have the real estate to bring in what it is you're saying you want to sell, which is the fabrics, and wanting to expand into the fabrics industry. I just don't see where you're going to put that as far as merchandising without getting rid of the things that make your store the reason why people go to your store, which is for the arts and crafts, like the kids craft section, the painting supplies, the coloring selection and stuff like that you've got, the markers and everything else. I mean, you've already reduced the paper crafting section to make room for all the vinyl crafting stuff, because, those machines went from being die cutting machines to vinyl cutting machines to sublimation machines. And you kind of like gave up, all your paper crafting stuff room to, die cutting vinyl sublimation. You don't really have a whole lot of departments that you can really deplete without moving out what your primary demographic and primary subjects or primary target supplies are. So I don't know how they're going to do this physically. Now, if I were on the board and I wanted to use my money wisely and my acquisitions wisely, I now own Hancock Fabrics name, I own AC Moore's name, and now I own Joann Fabrics name. I would probably open separate stores, maybe in the same locations of the Joann's, as a Hancock or as Joann's, and just kind of continue doing business as those companies, selling fabric and sewing supplies, and maybe expanding the yarn selection, and really, maybe get rid of the arts and crafts part of it, maybe get rid of all the florals that used to be in there, all the home decor stuff, and really expand and build an empire of sewing and fabric and yarn crafting, those soft crafts, and really make a store that is a haven for that. And with the way a lot of the contracts are going with certain companies, you could, sell some snacks, put a couple benches up front, and, create a community where people actually want to hang out in your store. Kind of like they used to. I mean, there used to be Michael's stores that had, over where the books were, crafting books, there would be a couple comfortable chairs that you could sit in and read the books. And occasionally, you sit there at the pattern table, just chit-chatting with people at a Joann's. You could create that kind of an atmosphere in a, Michael Hancock store. And create an environment where people actually want to come and sit and stay for a few minutes instead of just, grab, go, and run out the door, which is kind of how a lot of people feel when they're going into a Michael's now. Is they're literally going in with like a punch list, like they're going to the grocery store and they're trying to get out as soon as possible, and you're missing all the opportunity for those discreet purchases and things like that. I would personally open up, maybe in the same locations, maybe not, of the former Joann stores, fabric and yarn stores specifically, to keep that business maybe a little separate from my Michael's business. And you could start bringing some of the loops and thread stuff over, and maybe bring some of the big twist over, depending on where you are. But I don't know that I would want to give up that much real estate to fabric. Now, to be fair, according to Michael's, their search results on their website have seen a 77% uptick of fabric searches on their website, and another 33% uptick of searches for sewing on their website. So they are seeing traffic where people are interested in purchasing this online. But most of us, my community here, and a lot of people who will be coming in to see what I have to say about this, we are primarily yarny folk, and most of us do a lot of the shopping, especially when we're looking for big box shopping, in person, not online. And I know a lot of people who sew, and most of them also are purchasers in person. And a lot of times, you end up impulse purchasing a lot too. So you're missing opportunity if you're going to kind of really focus that part of the business online, especially when your website's as bad as Michael's website is, versus the opportunity that you could have and maybe spinning this off in a subsidiary. Maybe you have Michael's Arts and Crafts and Michael's Yarn and Fabric, and have two separate stores, and diversify what's available in each of those properties or each of those stores, kind of, re-separating out into what kind of made the original trifecta of craft stores. But I don't want to sound negative, because I feel like this video is kind of a negative video overall, which is why I hesitated to post anything to begin with when it came to like the Joann stuff to begin with. And I don't want to seem pessimistic, but I just know the realities of what this is going to cost and what you would have to give up looking at stores, and having kind of, shopped a number of stores in North Carolina and South Carolina here in the last 2 years, just as we've been making trips back and forth and doing things. So, while that's a very small number of stores compared to the nationwide number of stores, not to mention the stores up in Canada and everything else, they make all these promises, like they're going to bring in the DMC kits. They're bringing in a whole bunch of amigurumi kits. They're saying, they're going to continue to expand and improve on the Big Twist line and continue bringing that to us. And they're saying that's going to be in-store and online. And you're going to start bringing in the Brother sewing machines and the Singer sewing machines and the really expensive irons and stuff. I just don't know how you're going to be able to start introducing these in store in such a way that it would have been worth purchasing Joann's and all of their IP. And I don't think people who are in the market for a lot of this stuff, especially casually, they're going to your online spot to source these things. So I didn't see in any of the press releases or anything where part of this purchase included any of the real estate distribution or anything like that. I didn't see where they had purchased leases. Like when they bought AC Moore, there were 140 AC Moores. They purchased 40 of the leases to move into new areas. So those stores were converted into Michael's. But I didn't see anything like that being announced with this purchase of Joann's, that they had purchased any of the leases. I think the leases were all taken care of as part of the bankruptcy. Whereas, AC Moore and Hancock didn't actually go bankrupt. They just closed, they shuttered. So because Joann's was in the bankruptcy situation they are, I don't know that those leases were even available for Michaels to purchase. But personally, that's what I would do if I were the CEO of Michaels. I would diversify and split into 2 storefronts in person, and kind of specialize my stores. Kind of like how Walmart did with the neighborhood market. They kind of did the spin-off with the neighborhood market, which is just the Walmart grocery store. It doesn't, Walmart used to be kind of everything but food. Then they started having like these super Walmarts that were grocery stores and everything but food. And then they spun off, in the last 15 years to like these neighborhood markets, which are just grocery stores. I personally would probably do a little spinoff that is my soft goods, my soft stores, that were fabric and yarn and macrame and maybe kind of pull in more of like the seasonal crafts and stuff where making your Halloween wreaths and things like that, but doing less of the decor and more of the maker items, maker collections where you can, buy these 4 things that go together and you can make, this bubbling cauldron, or buy these 4 things and you can make this, gentleman jack-o'-lantern, 3D or something. I might do something more like that versus trying to combine everything into a Michaels arts and crafts store, because they are moving out of their wheelhouse. They are kind of bringing in an entire new department that they've really never had in store. And I don't see how they can do that without destroying what does make a Michaels a good shopping experience and why people would go to a Michaels to shop. They have, thankfully, a lot of their contracts seem to be coming, not being renewed with companies that do their merchandising plans like the Crickets and stuff. So they are able to, reallocate that space to other things. And we have seen them bring in a lot of Recollections branded items, or, having the contracts with Glidden and stuff like that to refill those spaces. But I just don't see this as being a good thing for us. I think for them as a business, this isn't necessarily a bad move, although how much they paid for AC Moore and what I see good that did them. I mean, I don't know how much good the distribution center, I think the distribution depot was in New Jersey. So I don't know how much good that really did them if they only had West Coast distribution beforehand. But now they've moved to like store distribution where if a store has something in stock, they'll get the order slip and send it to you. So your Michaels order doesn't even come from one location anymore. If you're ordering, person online ordering, you may get 5 packages because they sent your order in parts to 5 different stores that are now sending it out to you. So, and I really hate that model because to me, that's a very inefficient model. I think having different stock supplies for your stores versus your warehouse for your online store is a more efficient flow. You might have like yarn and fabric in one place, and you may have like home goods in another place, which makes sense. So you might get 2 boxes shipped out to you, but all this, multiple stores sending you items cross country just doesn't seem as effective. That's another thing Joann's had started to do that I noticed that slowed down my shipping time on a lot of things, whereas I might get items regularly within 5 days. When they move to that model, I may have an item that stays out for like 7 or 8 days. It may take a little bit longer to get that item to me. So I don't want to slam Michaels because I have enjoyed the Michaels stores. I've had really good experiences at Michaels. I have been around really good Michaels stores. I just don't see how this is going to make our shopping experience better, and the track record of what they did when they purchased Hancock and AC Moore, and where that really went as far as expanding their product line in store. Now, online, I can't say that they didn't, but we did lose things like Love Nicole, which I thought was an excellent in-house line that they own. I mean, they when they purchased AC Moore, they once again purchased the IP and private label things. So the Love Nicole line and the yarn line everybody loved that was part of the Nicole collection, all of that, where did that go? What did they do with that IP other than just now they're sitting on it? I mean, it's kind of a shame because they had good product lines that they could have continued. Not to mention they had contracts. AC Moore had contracts with companies like Premier as well, so you could have had more Premier yarn in store through Michaels, and Joann's used to have that contract. That's how I discovered when Premier, as I've said before, Premier really pushed the big box yarn stores companies to do better. Because they released that anti-pilling line. At the time, it was Deborah Norville Everyday Anti-Pilling, and it was a fantastic yarn brand. Everybody loved it. Everybody loved the quality of it. It actually lived up to the name of it. It didn't pill. And I've got a blanket made from one of the first gin yarns from that collection that I've had for years and years and years and years that I crocheted, and it still pretty much looks like new. It's been put through the washer and dryer quite a few times. It's been through 2 grandkids spending a ton of baby years in my house, and it was one of their favorite blankets to lay on and play with and cuddle with. So it got pretty dirty and had to be washed and dried in the machine a number of times and still looks fantastic. So, Joann's is how I found that yarn because they had that yarn in store. So you could have, when they purchased AC Moore, you could have purchased that contract out and brought Premier heavily into the Michaels stores and had those in-store retailers again. Nothing happened with that contract. I don't know if they purchased that contract or if Premier just said, no, we're not going to sign a contract with you or anything like that. I don't have any backdoor knowledge to that, but it's just another example of, once again, where we don't have this, great track record with what Michaels does with the IP that they purchase and actually producing, benefit to the craft space as in-person crafters. So I know I sound so negative, and I really hate to sound like a bummer and it's doom and gloom, and we're never going to see the light of day with this, but I do think that this is really going to impact the landscape of big box craft stores. And I don't think this is going to impact us in a good way. I don't think this is going to be a good thing for the crafter because I just don't think we're going to have these things in person. Now, Michael's online storefront is horrific, like I've said. So I guess for me personally, I'm going to have to continue just going to Yarn Brand stores. I go to Lion Brand periodically, search by new, see if there's something that's engaging that I think you guys might want to review on. I do the same thing with, I am lucky enough to be an affiliate with Premier Yarn. If you want to go check out the code down below, please feel free. But I do get email updates when they're getting ready to release something, so I can at least, be aware that they have new lines coming out. Same thing with Knit Picks and crochet.com. I do get emails when they release new things. I check Yarnspirations. And I don't know what's going to happen with them now because Spinrite's closing the manufacturing warehouse in Canada, which I think just leaves the one here in North Carolina to manufacture yarn. And I don't know what that's going to mean, for what we're going to see with the, former Coates and Clark lines, as well as the Bernat and Karen lines and their manufacturing and stuff. So that's really kind of disappointing and scary because they had moved everything to Canada when Spinrite bought Coates and Clark a couple of years ago. And now the only manufacturing sites, going to be in North Carolina, which I could be wrong on that one. That one I haven't explored more. I probably ought to do some more research on whether or not there's another location outside. I think it's Ottawa is the one they're closing. I mean, really, to be honest, of the large yarn store acquisitions, the only one that I'm okay with that I think has actually been a really good deal for everybody across the board is Lovecraft buying yarn.com. I mean, it's meant that we've gotten better quality yarns from overseas and a little bit more variety easily in North America from webs. And we're not having to pay like the extra shipping. There is a markup because of the import tax and stuff, but like I can buy like a ball of opal yarn or something. It's like $26 from a lot of the online LYSs, but I can get it for like $20 on yarn.com or something like that. It has helped in that price conversion. And if you order from yarn.com, it comes through the web system, and anyway, it's a whole thing, but that has worked out somehow. And I that's been the only acquisition where I'm like, I think this is a good thing. Because I never thought consolidating Coats and Clark with Bernat was going to be a good thing with Bernat and Karen. Bernat and Karen being liquidated together, that was fine. But adding Coats and Clark to that same collection, I thought we were going to lose diversity in the landscape, and we did. We lost a lot because a lot of those Red Heart was really trying to move. Coats and Clark was trying to move into having some more mid-tier, higher tier items, and experimenting more with natural fibers and different types of natural fibers, and really trying to elevate their brand at the same time that they sold. So we lost all that, and we pulled back to we're now a basic yarn company again. And we lost all the innovation we were kind of seeing them move to with like the Italian storyline and stuff like that. So, unfortunately, a lot of things we're seeing right now, we're just not seeing the good mergers, the good acquisitions coming to us. And I think this is another one that, as the consumer, I think this is going to hurt us more than help us in our community, unfortunately. And there are ways it could be done that I think would be smart, but I don't think that's the direction they're going to take. That would be a dramatic direction to take it in. And I would be very surprised if they would do something like that. So if you made it through the full hour, I am very sorry. I warned y'all at the beginning, grab something to drink because it's going to be a lot of just kind of free flow talking about this. But there are weird sounds coming from downstairs now. My husband might be going after the ice cream. So I am going to go downstairs. I might join him in a little ice cream after all this talking. Anyway, if you have anything you want to add to the conversation and to the dialogue, please do leave a comment down below. Your opinions matter in this as well. I would love to know if you were one of the ones that had a good Joann's, bad Joann's, because like we had bad Joann's and good Michael's here. And same thing in Charlotte. It was unfortunately, I think that store gets a bad rap. It's a very tiny store. I think that's really its biggest issue is it's a very small store, and the Michaels there are very huge. They have the Hobby Lobby and the Michaels in the Charlotte area, the Matthew Charlotte area, are both, they're very sizable stores. So I think the Joann's unfortunately gets a bad rap because it is such a small store in an older district. But how did your stores compare and contrast? What has your online ordering experience been with Michaels in the last 2 years since they expanded into this Michaels marketplace thing? Are you also finding this to be frustrating? What would you think if Michaels did decide to spin this off and open like an AC Joann cock and just kind of move everything into a consolidated location of, soft crafts, arts and crafts over here, and kind of, which was the business model I think would actually benefit them greatly. also, just how do you feel about this in general? And how do you feel about, in the yarny-scape, as most of us are yarny people here on my channel, or in my community here on YouTube and Facebook and everything else. How do you feel with all of these acquisitions, and how are you feeling as these are continuing to change the yarny landscape? Are you finding yourself able to transition to shopping online more? Are you finding what you're looking for in other places? How is this changing your shopping experience? I would love to know, because I know it's completely changed how I'm considering purchasing yarn moving forward and stuff as well. So I love you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful, fantastic day. Please take care of yourselves. Bye, you guys.